She was a slave, pregnant, and alone in the desert. He was a boy dying of thirst under a bush. But heaven heard their cry. This is the powerful and often overlooked story of Hagar and Ishmael, a story of rejection, survival, and a God who sees. Hello family lamp, welcome back to today's video. To our new subscribers, welcome, and to our returning subscribers, welcome back, and thank you so much for your continued support. Without wasting any time, let's jump straight into today's video. In the tents of Abram and Sarai all was not well. Sarai, now old and barren, wept many nights. She had followed her husband Abram for years, believing God's promise that he would become the father of nations. But her womb remained closed, so one day she turned to her Egyptian servant Hagar. "The Lord has kept me from having children," Sarai said bitterly. "Go sleep with my servant. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Genesis 16:2-2. And Abram agreed. Hagar was given to Abram as a wife. She obeyed, but inside, a storm stirred. She was a servant, not a queen, yet now she was to bear a patriarch's child. When she became pregnant, Hagar's pride swelled. She looked at Sarai with contempt. Sarai burned with jealousy. The very solution she designed now mocked her. "You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering." Sarai snapped at Abram, "May the Lord judge between you and me." Genesis 16:5. Abram, wearied by the tension, gave in. "Do with her whatever you think best." Genesis 16:6. So Sarai mistreated Hagar harshly. She beat her down emotionally and perhaps physically. Hagar could no longer endure. She fled, pregnant and alone. She wandered into the wilderness. There, near a spring in the desert on the road to Shur, the angel of the Lord appeared to her, not in wrath, not in punishment, but with gentleness. "Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" Genesis 16:8. Tears in her eyes, Hagar replied, "I'm running away from my mistress Sarai." Then came words that surprised her. "Go back to your mistress and submit to her." And then came the promise. "I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. You will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery." Genesis 16:10-11. He would be a wild donkey of a man, free, untamed, and strong, and his descendants would form great tribes. Shaken and comforted, Hagar said, "You are the God who sees." Genesis 16:13. And she returned, stronger in spirit, to face the same home that had mistreated her. In time she bore a son. Abram named him Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old. 14 years passed. Abram was now Abraham, and Sarai had become Sarah, renamed by God. And though Sarah was nearly 90, God did the impossible. She gave birth to a son, Isaac, the promised child. On the day Isaac was weaned, Abraham threw a grand feast. But something went wrong. Sarah saw Ishmael, now a teenager, mocking the young Isaac. Perhaps it was jealousy. Perhaps rivalry. Sarah was furious. "Get rid of that slave woman and her son," she demanded. "That slave woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac." Genesis 21:10. Abraham was deeply distressed. Ishmael was still his son, but God said, "Do not be so distressed. Listen to Sarah, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. But I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring." Genesis 21:12-13. Early the next morning, Abraham rose. He took some food and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar. Then, with heartbreak in his eyes, he sent her and Ishmael away. Hagar walked into the desert of Beersheba. As the water ran out, her strength gave way. Her son, weak with thirst, collapsed under a bush. She couldn't bear to watch him die. "I cannot watch the boy die," she sobbed, and she sat a short distance away. Genesis 21:16. She lifted her voice and wept, but God heard the boy crying. "Hagar, what is the matter?" The angel of God called from heaven, "Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying. Lift him up, take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation." Genesis 21:17-18. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She ran to fill the skin and gave her son a drink. Life returned, hope returned, and Ishmael lived. Ishmael grew up in the wilderness. He became an archer, strong, independent, and wild, just as God had said. He lived in the desert of Paran, and Hagar, ever the survivor, found him a wife from her homeland in Egypt. They built a life in the desert, away from the tents of Isaac, but never outside the sight of God. When Abraham died, Ishmael and Isaac buried their father together, a rare moment of reunion. Ishmael's legacy continued. He had 12 sons. Just as God had promised, 12 tribal rulers settled from Havilah to Shur, near Egypt, a vast land east of their relatives. And now, here are 6 powerful lessons we learn from the story of Hagar and Ishmael. God sees the rejected as Hagar was a slave, a foreigner, and a single mother. Yet God saw her and called her by name. You are the God who sees me. Genesis 16:13. God hears the cry of the helpless when Hagar couldn't help her son. God stepped in. God has heard the boy crying. Genesis 21:17. God keeps his promises, even when we mess up. Ishmael was born through human impatience, but God still blessed him because God is faithful. No one is forgotten in God's kingdom. Hagar and Ishmael were cast out, but they were not cast aside by God. God provides in the wilderness when all seemed lost. God opened Hagar's eyes to see the water right in front of her. Your story isn't over after rejection, Hagar. This day wasn't her last. Ishmael's cry became a legacy, and God was there through it all. Thank you for joining the family lamp today. If this story of kindness, faith, and hope touched your heart, please share it with your family and friends, and subscribe. Even when things seem hard, God's light can shine through kindness and love. Come back soon for more stories that will warm your heart and brighten your day. Until next time, keep shining bright, trust in God's miracles, and always choose kindness.